has been an awakening. Have you felt it?
Supporters of QAnon were out in full force at President.
In the last few months, a bizarre conspiracy theory has taken root firmly on the fringes of the American right.
Where we go one,
We go home.
where we go one,
We go home.
These people are taking an oath to QAnon, a mishmash of conspiracy theories which holds Donald Trump as the savior of the world. And they hold some disturbing views.
The pandemic wasn't real, and the race war isn't real.
It's creeping into the mainstream of political conversations.
Just this past weekend, Trump retweeted QAnon dozens of times.
And it's tearing families apart.
The person I knew as my mother is probably not coming back.
Exclusive research seen by the BBC shows a huge spike in interest in this conspiracy theory during the pandemic. But what is QAnon? And why has the coronavirus led to an exponential surge in its appeal?
Hi.
Hey Steph, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing excellently.
Travis View has been researching this phenomenon since its early days and explains what it is that QAnon followers believe.
So, QAnon is a very elaborate conspiracy theory that purports that the world's controlled by an elite cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles. The QAnon community believes that this cabal, they control everything, including the media, Hollywood, and especially politicians like Hillary Clinton. The most far out of these beliefs say that celebrities and political elites actually farm children in underground caves so that they can drink blood, which supposedly staves off aging. They believe that Trump, with the assistance of high-level military intelligence officials, is releasing information in posts on anonymous web forums like 4chan and 8chan and 8kun. Now these posts, which are called Q-drops, are very cryptic and hard to decipher. But QAnon followers believe that by decoding these Q-drops, they can understand what is really going on behind the scenes in this epic battle of good versus evil.
It's not clear who the person claiming to be Q is. It could have been several people over the years. It's become a sort of cult of President Trump, though not all QAnon followers supported Donald Trump before.
I've never voted in my life. I do not believe in the voting system whatsoever. And when Trump came along, I thought he was another Illuminati puppet. The only reason I have this red hat on right now, which I still feel like an idiot sometimes wearing it, it's because I believe that this is a real thing.
Fake news, fake press.
Nick Natoli is a musician, but like a lot of QAnon believers, he can spend up to 16 hours a day online, researching conspiracies.
JFK was definitely murdered by CIA. You're taking it from someone who's got JFK on their arm. 9/11 was an inside job. People in our government who are working towards a deep state, who are trying to keep us controlled.
Children are being harvested, children are being farmed for adrenochrome by celebrities and politicians. Do you subscribe to that?
Not outlandish at all. Reptilian aliens, the Epstein connection. It takes Bill Clinton getting a blowjob in '95. MK Ultra is a huge one.
This is conspiracy overload for me. I'm not sure I'm ready for it. Is there a conspiracy theory that you don't believe in?
That's a great question. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. What QAnon is just an amalgamation of all of the greatest conspiracy theories thrown into one big belief. I've only been actively posting, I'd say, for the past couple of months. But the response that I've gotten is insane. I mean, people are online looking for this stuff right now.
Exclusive research seen by the BBC looked at the use of hashtags specific to QAnon. Here's how many posts there were over the 2 years before the pandemic. And then in March, this happened. On Facebook, in just 4 months, membership of the biggest public QAnon groups rose by 700%. Most followers seem to be in the US, but there's been a rise in posts from the UK, Germany, and Brazil.
These vast increases in conversation came at a time of societal instability and at a time of turmoil for a lot of people. And people were looking for an answer as to why everything was happening. People were also locked down in their homes. They were, stuck to their computers, stuck to their phones all day. So they had more exposure to this kind of thing online.
You're an organisation that covers extremism. So why are you studying QAnon?
QAnon was labelled a domestic terror threat by the FBI last year. It was born on platforms that are really associated with white supremacist movements, with far-right extremism. And although you can't really label Q followers as that, the conspiracy is tangential to that side of extremism. It takes on anti-Semitic tropes. It really kind of targets the same people as far-right extremists as well.
Another site that's seen a huge surge in popularity recently is this page on the message board Reddit. People are coming here to post about family members that they feel have been sucked into the QAnon conspiracy. A lot of these relatives are older, parents or even grandparents. We've spoken to a few of those who've been posting, but we're going to hide their identities because some of their relatives could be quite vulnerable.
She believes that Bill Gates created the COVID pandemic.
That COVID-19 is biowarfare that only affects pedophiles.
And also created the upcoming vaccine.
Bleach is a cure-all.
Which is going to contain microchips to track everybody.
Wacky things such as Michelle Obama is really a man.
And people like Ellen and J-Lo are all Satanists.
And the pedophile rings.
Interdimensional demonic pedophiles.
I said to him, you realize that they believe Democrat politicians and celebrities are literally eating babies? And then he messaged back, yeah, I believe that.
A lot of this is a fine line between, heartbreaking and hilarious.
Some of these families feel they've lost their relatives to a cult. QAnon has an evangelical aspect, where followers encourage each other to convert friends and family. They call it red pilling, a reference from the Matrix films.
Update from the trenches. Keep red pilling. Keep going, because it worked. It's working. It's beautiful.
Some relatives find it especially hard to deal with a QAnon belief that the pandemic is a hoax.
My father is a cancer survivor and he's immunocompromised. This is putting his life at risk if he starts to believe these things too.
She's 81 and she's not wearing a mask. She's not social distancing in any way.
She implied that my girlfriend's mother, who had COVID-19, was a predator. That's when I kind of snapped a little bit.
With more than 10 million confirmed cases of coronavirus worldwide, it's hard to understand the extent of this denial. So I asked Nick Natoli to explain.
What do you think of the pandemic?
I think it's a hoax. I think that the rumor on the street is that President Trump is trying to get all these people to go to jail for pedophilia, child sacrifice, and that the deep state has control of the media and put out this story to try to save their ass. I told my girlfriend, I said, if there's a virus, if there's a pandemic, we're going to hear some shit. We didn't hear nothing.
But what if it is real and you're not taking it seriously enough? Do you worry about that?
I don't want anyone to get sick because they went outside without a mask because of me. So I always want to stay researching.
What do you think of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter?
I believe that they're trying to create a race war, which, because divide and conquer is probably the best strategy that any sort of government or military action has ever provided ever. That's how you get people to not fight the government.
Do you believe he was killed?
I've heard so many conflicting stories with that I don't know what I believe. But I don't believe that the original story is real.
And a lot of the families we spoke to have a problem with what they see as racist elements of QAnon.
It's kind of stripped away a lot of his humanity in the sense that after George Floyd, there was no reaching for sympathy or trying to understand the situation on a human level. It was immediately, right, this must be fake. Let's find out how.
Her best friend of 15 years, who was a Black woman, confronted her about a week ago and said a lot of the things you're saying are racist and phobic, and their friendship is dissolved.
Social media companies, especially Facebook and YouTube, have been criticised for what's known as the rabbit hole effect. That's when their algorithms lead you to content that just gets more and more extreme. They say that they're changing, but I did a quick search for QAnon on my Facebook account, and the following day, there was a list of QAnon pages in my suggestions.
Good morning, world!
Some QAnon followers make money from the conspiracy through advertising on their channels or selling products.
I need to plug my Patreon occasionally.
This week, Twitter announced it would start policing QAnon content on its site because of the potential for real-world harm. On QAnon hashtags now, followers share aspects of the conspiracy, but they also share fairly mainstream pro-Trump opinions, anti-immigration, for example, or pro-police. A lot of them were right-leaning before, but a significant number of those we've observed had no interest in politics or even leaned a little bit to the left.
They are activating like-minded people who otherwise may be sitting on the sidelines. And I think that's the part of this that's actually where it starts to translate into meaningful votes.
Angelo Carusone is the CEO of the left-leaning and anti-Trump think tank Media Matters for America.
Trump retweeted QAnon dozens of times. So, prominent QAnon accounts. And that has only been increasing in recent weeks. And there's a strategy there, right? Because it works up his base. It gets people energized. It's indisputable that he's aware and that he's intentionally using it to his advantage.
According to Media Matters, at least 14 QAnon believers could make it to the ballot in November. One of them could be elected to Congress. Marjorie Greene is in a runoff in Georgia in a safe Republican seat. She's shown her support for QAnon on social media in the past. We contacted her campaign to find out if she still supports the movement, but she didn't respond.
What is the greater damage that you worry it could do?
The more you push them and the more they feel like they're being pushed, the more radicalized they get. The thing that really scares me the most about QAnon is that it has all the right ingredients for genuine and sincere and intense violence.
For its followers, QAnon can be all-consuming.
It's clearly more than a hobby to you. What is it to you?
It's life. It's doing the right thing. It's doing God's work on this planet. We're here to take the country back. We're not playing around. If Joe Biden wins, I'm scared for America because I believe that QAnon will have something to say about it. And we are large, we are strong, and where we go one, we go all.
As the movement grows, pulling in more and more devotees, many more families will be left wondering what's happened to the people that they love.
I mean, we used to talk every day. Now she has no interaction with my daughter at all. She's going deeper and deeper in. Like, what is that going to look like even next week or 6 months from now?
It's incredibly frustrating. She's a racist, deluded person. And she's nothing like she was before.
I have to accept that the person I knew as my mother is no longer present and probably not coming back.